Okay, this is going to be part 3. We're going to look at problem 31 and 32. Here we're going to factor. On these problems, we want to find out what the solutions are. What are going to be my x-intercepts? So I need to find out my changes in my signs. If I do f of positive x, I've got x to the fourth plus x 15x to the second and minus 16. Positive, positive, negative. There's only one change, so that means I will have one positive solution. When I put in f of negative x, remember if your exponent is even exponents make negative x and positive x the same. So that stays positive, and of course 16 is constant, so it's not going to change. So I have one negative. Then I need my potential zeros. So I've got P over Q. Again, it's nice that Q is 1 because that means all I need is my factors of P. 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. All right, now I'm going to take and use my factor theorem, and I'm going to find out what's f of 1. If f of 1 gives me 0, then I know I have one of my solutions. So I have 1 to the fourth plus 15 times 1 squared minus 16. 1 plus 15 minus 16 equals 0. So yeah, part of my answer is going to be x minus 1. So synthetic division. Now I've got a problem here because remember, in synthetic division, you cannot skip any exponents. So I'm going to have to add some zeros into my polynomial. Instead of just saying x to the fourth plus 15x squared, I'm going to have to pull in x to the fourth plus 0x to the third plus 15x squared plus 0x minus 16. And again, in synthetic division, you cannot skip any of these. Now, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Now I can put in 1, 0, 15, 0, negative 16. And remember, I am dividing by 1. So I'm going to pull my 1 down. This 1 comes straight down. And then I'm going to add. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Gives me 16. 16 times 1 is 16. Gives me 16. 16 times 1 again is 16. Cancels. I have a remainder of 0. So now I have x to the third plus x squared plus 16x plus 16. I could go back to my potential zeros here and plug in again until I find who's my next solution. But I could also work on my factoring. I have 4 terms, and it's not always going to happen, but I think I can make this common factor. I'm going to pull my x minus 1. Now, x to the third plus x squared. We're going to factor by grouping. What can I pull out of here? X squared. And that's going to leave me with x plus 1. If I do the same thing, then I have a 16. And that's going to leave me with another x plus 1. So what do I have for solutions? I have x minus 1 times x plus 1 And then I have x squared plus 16. Now, if that had been a minus, I could break that down to the difference of squares with an x plus 4 and x minus 4, but it doesn't because it's a plus. So that would be x squared plus 16 equals 0. Getting rid of that 16, x squared equals a negative 16. And I would have x is equal to plus or minus 4i, right? They would be complex solutions, not. So my solutions are going to be 1 and negative 1. This is my factored form. All right. Now, before I move on this one, just sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. One of the things, if you see it, if you recognize it, you could do, and you might just want to totally skip this, but one of the things when I first wrote this problem down, when I saw x to the fourth and x to the second, I could come over here. This is just a shortcut when this happens. And I could say A, get a different, is equal to x squared, right? So if A is equal to x squared, I would have 15a. And if that's a squared, then a squared will equal x to the fourth, right? All right, now I could factor this because I have a squared, a, and 16. And that would give me, what can I multiply? That would equal a negative 16, but would add to a positive 16. I would have a plus 16 times a minus 16, right? Okay, now I'm going to come back to what I did here. X squared plus 16, because a is x squared, and x squared minus, not 16, 1. Difference of squares, x minus 1, x plus 1, and x squared plus 16 came up. Now, again, that only worked because I have a fourth and a second power here, and it's twice. Okay, let's look at problem 32. When I do 32, let's see, I have x to the third plus 6x squared minus 14x plus 16. Again, my a is 1, so all I need are my factors of p. I don't have to worry about my factors of q, so plus or minus 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. Now, I'm not going to lie, guys. I did this. I went through 1 and 2, and I started on 4, and I pulled the key out of my bag, and I got that the first solution was negative 8. Try a couple of them because you want the practice on it, but I'm going to start out cheating with negative 8. So I have negative 8 to the third plus 6 times negative 8 squared minus 14 times negative 8 plus 16. All right, so 8 to the third power is 512. And because it's negative, it's going to be a negative 512. 6 times 64 is 384. That's going to be a positive. A negative 14 times a negative 8 is going to be a positive 112 plus 16. I've got a negative 512. 16 and 384 is going to give me 400 plus 112 is going to give me a positive. So I got a negative 512 and a positive 512. So it equals 0. So yes, negative 8 is part of my solution. All right, I'm going to check out those exponents. 3, 2, 1, 0. So I'm going to go ahead with my synthetic division. I am dividing by a negative 8. And that's going to give me 1, 6, negative 14, and 16. Remember, I'm just writing my coefficients from this down. Bring down that first term. 1 times negative 8. 6 plus negative 8 is a negative 2. That's a 16 positive. So that's a 2. So that's a 16 negative. And that's gone. All right. So right now, as it stands, I have x plus 8 times x squared, 1x squared, minus 2x plus 2. Is there anything I could multiply to get a positive 2, like 1 times 2, that would add to a negative 2? No, this will not factor. If I plugged this in right here to the quadratic formula, I would have negative 2 plus or minus negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2 over 2 times 1. 2 plus or minus 4 minus 4 times 2 gives me the square root of negative 4 over 2. I would have 2 plus or minus 2i over 2, giving me 1 plus or minus I. The only way to factor this is with complex numbers, so my only real solutions is that negative 8. Okay? All right, guys, try to practice on. I'm writing up a practice test, and I'm going to post that, and you can do some more practice that way. All right, good luck, guys.